The FIM-92. Stinger's seeker gives off a sharp, steady tone as it locks on. The operator feels the vibration through the grip, squeezes the trigger, and the missile surges out of the tube at nearly 1,500 miles per hour. It snaps into a 20G turn following the heat signature of an Iranian Shahed drone. A bright burst flares 500 yards off the starboard side, scattering debris into the waves. But on the AN/SPY-1D radar, nothing is easing up. In fact, 114 separate returns have just crossed the 12-mile line. To the east, HMS Duncan is already in action, launching Sea Viper missiles at Mach 4. Below deck, the Mark 15 Phalanx CIWS spins up to 4,500 rounds per minute. Its 20mm Gatling gun throwing a dense curtain of tungsten into the low-altitude swarm. And that is where the real problem becomes impossible to ignore. Every successful intercept costs around $1.5 million. Every incoming drone costs about $35,000. Flood a high-end defense network with enough low-cost threats, and sooner or later, the numbers stop working in your favor. Now imagine the pressure when 60 fast attack craft and 100 loitering munitions are launched at the same time. In that moment, the entire mission becomes a race to keep the defensive chain from buckling under the strain. Britain moves first, sending 1,000 troops into the region in a deployment with enormous stakes. Among the systems arriving is Sky Sabre, a modern air defense platform built for exactly this kind of fight. Its radar can detect a target the size of a tennis ball, moving at the speed of sound from 75 miles away. In the first minutes of the engagement, Sky Sabre begins firing Landscepter missiles. Unlike older systems, Landscepter uses active radar homing, which means it does not rely on the ground station to guide it all the way in. Once launched, it can track and engage on its own. As the Iranian drone swarm crosses the 12-mile threshold, British batteries fire one after another. Each missile costs roughly $1 million. The drone it brings down costs $35,000. That imbalance defines the entire battle. Either you spend at an unsustainable rate, or you find a smarter, more efficient way to stop the threat. At sea, HMS Duncan, a Type 45 destroyer, serves as the coalition's central defender. Its Samson radar, mounted 100 feet above the waterline, scans constantly for sea-skimming NOR anti-ship missiles. Equipped with the Sea Viper system, the destroyer launches 8 interceptors in just 30 seconds. The sky over the strait fills with white trails and orange flashes. But the volume of incoming threats is overwhelming. 2 drones slip past the British defensive screen and head straight for a commercial tanker. It is easy to talk about ships, missiles, and defense systems as if they are just numbers on a spreadsheet. But in real time, this is not abstract. Right now, there are 50,000 Americans and 1,000 British troops in that heat, watching radar screens and waiting on a single blip that could change everything. And for many people watching this, those are not just service members in a report. They are sons, daughters, friends, or the same kind of shipmates you may have stood beside in those waters 20 or 30 years ago. The technology may be different now, but that feeling in your gut when the alarm goes off has not changed at all. If you've served on the line or if you have family deployed there right now, leave a comment below. Let's remind people that behind every radar screen, every ship, and every system, there are real human beings. The United States does not respond halfway. Around 50,000 troops have been moved into the theater, creating a huge logistical presence meant to turn the Persian Gulf into a tightly managed battle space. At the center of that defense are the Arleigh Burke-class destroyers. These are some of the most advanced multi-mission warships ever built, but even they are being stretched to their limits. The USS Carney picks up the 2 drones that made it through the British defensive layer. Its AN/SPY-1D radar flags them as immediate threats. The captain has only 2 seconds to make the call. He chooses not to use the $1 million missile option. Instead, he goes with the Mark 15 Phalanx close-in weapon system. The Phalanx is a 20mm Gatling gun capable of firing 4,500 rounds per minute, creating a dense stream of fire directly in the path of an incoming drone. The tungsten sub-projectiles tear apart the first drone at 500 yards, but the second one follows a more advanced flight path. It drops low, using the clutter of the waves to reduce its radar signature, and slams into the side of a coalition support ship. The blast is not enough to send the vessel under, but the moment is devastating. Flames spread across the deck, sailors rush into action. The enemy has landed a hit, and for the first time, the image of NATO air defense as untouchable begins to crack. At that point, this is no longer a polished display of military power. It becomes a grinding contest of endurance. The U.S. answers with the RIM-174 Standard Extended Range Active Missile, better known as the SM-6. It is one of the most versatile weapons in the Navy's inventory, capable of engaging aircraft, ships, and even ballistic missiles in their final approach. 4 SM-6 missiles launch from the vertical cells, accelerating to roughly 2,600 miles per hour. They do not simply stop the targets, they erase them through overwhelming kinetic force. And yet, every time one missile leaves the launcher, more drones are sent from concealed sites along the coast. While the destroyers fight the visible fight, Navy SEALs and Delta Force are handling the hidden one. Their objective is simple in theory and brutal in practice: shut the swarm down at its point of origin. SEAL Team 6 operators move in aboard a combatant craft Assault, a fast, low-profile vessel designed to stay nearly invisible to Iranian coastal radar. They carry Glock 19 sidearms and Sig Sauer MCX Rattler carbines. But their most important tool on this mission is C4 explosive. They enter the Gulf under darkness, slipping into oil-slicked water toward a line of Iranian smart mines anchored in the shipping lanes. These are not ordinary mines waiting blindly for contact. They are equipped with acoustic sensors that can identify the sound signature of a U.S. aircraft carrier and trigger only when a high-value target passes overhead. If you want, I can keep going and rewrite the next section in this same style. The SEALs rely on handheld sonar beneath the surface to find the mooring cables. In total darkness, they secure demolition charges onto the sensors with nothing but touch, training, and timing to guide them. At one point, one operator feels the vibration of an Iranian fast attack boat passing just 20 feet overhead. If they are discovered out there, there is no safety net. Every second of the mission is a calculated risk. At the same time, Delta Force teams are carrying out a sensitive raid on a small island, being used by the IRGCN as a drone command hub. They fast rope from an MH-60M Black Hawk while an EA-18G Growler provides electronic cover overhead. The Growler saturates enemy frequencies with white noise, disrupting communications and throwing the defenders into confusion. On the ground, the Delta operators move through the compound with absolute precision. Their objective is clear: seize the hard drives, disable the satellite uplinks, and get out before the Iranian Quds Force Quick Reaction Unit arrives. They have 6 minutes. It becomes clear to the coalition that staying on defense is a losing formula. The momentum begins to shift in the air, but not without serious difficulty. Iran has positioned S-300 and Bavar 373 surface-to-air missile batteries in the rugged mountains overlooking the strait, creating a layered threat that is extremely difficult to break. To open that door, the U.S. launches the F-35C Lightning II from the deck of the USS Gerald R. Ford. The F-35C serves as the nerve center above the battlefield. Its onboard systems combine data from HMS Duncan, the SEAL teams on the ground, and satellite feeds into a single real-time picture of the fight. It can see the full battle space at once and assign the right weapon to the right target. Once the F-35C detects the radar signature of an S-300 battery, the pilot avoids flying directly into the defensive envelope. Instead, he releases an AGM-154 joint standoff weapon. The JSOW is a glide bomb with a range of roughly 70 miles, guided by GPS, and shaped by terrain following flight to stay as hard to detect as possible. It strikes the radar vehicle of the S-300 battery, taking away one of the system's most critical components and opening a path for the next phase of the operation. With that defensive layer disrupted, the heavier air support moves in. The A-10 Thunderbolt II enters the fight, and for many veterans listening, that sound is instantly familiar. The aircraft is built around the GAU-8 Avenger, a 30mm cannon so large it defines the entire design of the plane. It fires depleted uranium rounds at a rate of 3,900 rounds per minute. Below, a group of 15 Iranian fast attack boats is attempting to surround a NATO frigate. The A-10 pilot rolls into a 30-degree dive, places the lead boat in the heads-up display, and fires a 2-second burst. In moments, the formation begins to break apart as hulls are torn open and fuel tanks ignite. After 3 attack passes, the swarm is reduced to burning debris and spreading slicks across the water. But the A-10's strength has always come with a trade-off. It is powerful, but it is not fast. From a concealed position on a coastal cliff, an Iranian man-portable air defense system launches a heat-seeking missile. It locks onto the A-10's massive twin engines and begins closing fast. The pilot punches out flares, bright magnesium decoys burning hotter than the engines to pull the missile away. The blast goes off just 10 feet behind the tail. The A-10 makes it out because it was built to absorb punishment, with its titanium armor shielding the pilot like a flying bunker, but the aircraft has to break away from the fight. The wind is picking up, and as daylight fades, Iranian commanders believe the darkness will finally tilt the advantage toward their fast boats. That is when the AC-13OJ Ghost Rider arrives on station. Orbiting at 10,000 feet above the target area, the gunship brings an entirely different kind of pressure. It is armed with a 30mm GAU-23/A autocannon and a 105mm M102 howitzer. Through high-definition infrared sensors, the Ghost Rider crew can clearly see the heat signatures of Iranian teams on the shoreline trying to reload drone launchers. Then the 105 fires. This is the kind of weapon normally associated with heavy ground firepower, now mounted to the side of a 4-engine aircraft. When the round lands, it hits with overwhelming force. There is no such thing as a harmless near miss from a 105mm shell. The effect is immediate and decisive. To support the teams on the ground, the AC-13OJ also releases GBU 39 small-diameter bombs. These 250-pound precision-guided weapons can glide for up to 40 miles and strike with remarkable accuracy. Ammunition stacks, fuel storage points, and communications nodes are hit one by one, each target selected with surgical precision. Then the fight reaches another level. With their fast attack craft largely neutralized, the Iranian coastal batteries make one final push, launching a coordinated volley of Sumar cruise missiles. These are not slow-moving drones. They race in at roughly 500 miles per hour, skimming just above the water to stay below radar coverage for as long as possible. This is exactly the kind of threat the British Sky Sabre system was rushed into the theater to stop. On the ground, the Giraffe AMB radar, the sensor backbone of Sky Sabre, is spinning at 60 revolutions per minute. It picks up the incoming threat at 60 miles. In that instant, NATO's integrated Link 16 network takes over. The American Arleigh Burke-class destroyers provide long-range tracking and feed that data directly into the British firing units. The Americans detect it. The British engage it. Sky Sabre launches the Land Scepter, also known as CAM. The launch is cold, with a compressed air piston throwing the missile 30 feet into the air before the rocket motor ignites. That design reduces the launch site's infrared signature and makes it harder for the enemy to instantly target the battery. The first Land Scepter surges toward a Sumar missile. At 10 miles, the incoming missile performs a programmed evasive move, dropping even lower over the waves. The British system adjusts almost instantly. Because Land Scepter uses active radar homing, it no longer needs continuous guidance from the ground unit. It can finish the intercept on its own. The two missiles collide just 5 miles from the coalition's main fuel depot. On the infrared displays, the blast becomes a blinding white flash, but the wind is still causing problems. A second Sumar is detected late after a NATO sensor node malfunctions. Now there is no margin left. A Sky Sabre operator overrides the automated sequence and tracks the target manually. Another Land Scepter launches. This time the intercept happens just 1,200 yards from the objective. The shockwave rattles the command center windows, a reminder of how close the threat really came. By now, the system is running at the very edge of its thermal limit, and the people behind the screens know they are asking every machine and every operator for one more perfect response. The radar cooling units are screaming under the load. Every system is being pushed to the edge in a desperate effort to keep the corridor open. For the British crews rushed into the desert only days earlier, this is the defining test of a system worth hundreds of millions. They hold the line. The final cruise missile is stopped. The Strait of Hormuz remains open, but this is not the kind of win that comes with celebration. 2 coalition ships are being towed back to port for major repairs. More than 400 interceptor missiles have been expended, representing nearly $1.2 billion in ordnance. Across the wider fight, 12,000 sorties flown by US and NATO aircraft have driven airframes to their limit, leaving months of maintenance ahead. On the other side, Iran has lost more than 80% of its coastal fast attack fleet, along with dozens of drone launch positions. What made the difference was not simply volume of fire, it was timing, sequencing, and coordination. The F-35C found the threat. The Growler disrupted the response. The Arleigh Burke destroyers formed the shield. The A-10 delivered the finishing force. Each link mattered, and each handoff had to happen without hesitation. As 82nd Airborne units begin rotating into newly secured coastal zones, the lesson becomes impossible to miss. Technology multiplies combat power, but it is coordination that decides the outcome. The smooth handoff between a British radar operator and an American gunship crew is what keeps the entire system alive. For now, the strait is open. Tankers are moving again, but no one believes the story ends here. The enemy is watching, adapting, and rebuilding. In the next confrontation, they will search for the weak point in the sequence. Our job, the only job that matters, is to make sure that weak point never appears. This was a contest of processing speed, discipline, and professional resolve. The United States and its allies proved they can force the passage open even when the other side is determined to close it. But the price of that success is readiness, because tomorrow may demand the same performance all over again. In the end, the hardest victory is the one that counts, because it is the one the enemy takes seriously. Under relentless pressure, the equation finally shifted in our favor. For now, the strait remains open. This presentation is a dramatized simulation designed to offer a high-fidelity look at the pressure and complexity of modern military operations. It is a fictional what-if scenario, not a factual report of a real-world event. While the weapons, regional tensions, and operational concepts are grounded in reality. The specific sequence of events, characters, and dramatic moments have been created for storytelling purposes. The goal is to deliver an immersive, detail-rich analysis that explores how multinational systems, doctrine, and decision-making might come together under extreme pressure.